Hi guys, I want to introduce you guys today to one of the third regular guests to the Not So Fair But Lovely podcast. Today in the studio, we have an amazing and very qualified doctor, a dermatologist, who is based in Mumbai and who I met on my last and recent trip to Mumbai in January. So welcome to the program, Dr. Soma.
Hi, Ramona. This was a very, very kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me on your podcast. And I will be happy to share my experience and my knowledge to all your listeners.
Oh, fantastic, Doctor. I mean, obviously our relationship has been a very short and sweet relationship, but I really feel that when I met with you recently, I felt a great level of comfort and a great level of understanding from your part on, I guess, my skin concerns and what I was hoping to achieve by coming to see you. And that is being someone who I guess has grown up in Australia and spent the last 15 years in India. I've never found that connect with another dermatologist. So I'm super excited to have you as part of our podcast and as someone that can obviously bring so much to this platform and to our audience. So, Doctor, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your background. If you could just share with our audience about yourself and how you got into this profession.
Okay, so Ramona, again, as I said, I appreciate that you like the treatment and I'm so happy to gel those vibes with you. Now, coming from my background, obviously, I come from a completely non-medical background. That means I don't have any of my parents being doctors. I started my journey, obviously, I did my degree, which is a 3 years course post MBBS.
Yes.
To be very frank to you and to be very transparent to the audience, when I started my subject as dermatology, we were completely into clinical part of it. So, as a regular residence program, I used to deal more with clinical diseases like eczema. I would deal with psoriasis. We would deal with a lot of seropositive or immunosuppressive diseases as well as medication in my practice back then. But by the time I had passed, the scenario out in the world had changed and people were a lot more into aesthetics, and that's where we got an edge because we did have lasers as subject. We did have a lot of aesthetic procedure as subject, but we never had the practical experience. So when I came out, I also did some fellowship in Thailand and Singapore, where did I polish my hands on the aesthetic procedures.
Fantastic.
And I learned a little bit more in intricate details about the machines, about the physics, about the know-how. And it's an immense pleasure to see someone happy, because when you do a service to them, when you do some patients' treatments and they're really happy, they go home back happy. That's a different kind of satisfaction. Probably I can't put enough in words for this.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, when you come to someone and obviously entrusting them to make sure that these procedures are not cheap for a reason, because obviously, like you said, they get results. But that's what I found in Australia. There's a lot of hesitation for people of, my background, because sometimes I find that many of the clinics here, they do not cater to our needs. I lived in Singapore as well for a period of time. And I guess the focus in Australia or in the Western world is very much on tanning. It's very much on wrinkles. And if you look at a similar thing in Asia, it's all about being sort of that Korean beauty, or that's, you would be aware of that.
Yes.
But I think in India, we are blessed with good genes. And I think, generally Indians or people of color age well. It's in our skin, it's in our sort of genes to age quite well. But I want to ask you that, Doctor. Tell me, in your experience, what are the most common skin concerns or issues that present to you in your clinic?
So as Indians here, people are much more obsessed with their skin color. I know it's a funny thing to understand this, but the commonest thing what we come across is obviously a lot of pigmentary issues, which are basically from tanning to hormonal changes like melasma on the skin, acne PIH, that is post-acne marks. Then there are pigmentary issues which are also pathological. So we have this pigmentation which is physiological and pathological. So pathological, you have a lot of autoimmune disorders to cover under it. So one of the examples for that would be like a disease known as lichen planus, which you have a ashy dermatosis, like a ashy color skin over the face. So there are times when it is not merely aesthetic, Ramona, but it also has to be something to do with your pathological concerns.
Correct.
Second most common is the acne part. Acnes are very common in India.
Yes.
Obviously, because most of the time it's the lifestyle and the eating
Correct.
habits. So we see a lot of them coming back to us for acne.
Yes.
Then comes your hair. Obviously, hair is one of the most, again, sought after treatments, hair fall, hair dandruff, a lot of these kind of stuff, which is very common in our practice. And nowadays, in this last few years, I have also seen people coming out more and talking about on the aging process, which initially when I started my practice was not that easy. We have to really talk it out and I have to impart the information. But nowadays I see the other way around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people come and do ask me that, how can we address this? Is there other ways and means of doing it? To sum up with, these were the commonest ones. So this is basically like more of aesthetic. But if you look at the clinical part, obviously there are other basically bacterial infections, viral infections, and all this kind of infection also we do treat. So we basically categorized our diseases and your elements into these two subgroups.
It's fascinating, Doctor, because I think a lot of the things you've spoken about, whether I agree with you, lifestyle plays a big part in this and your environment as well. Absolutely. And I think growing up in Australia where the environmental conditions are so different. For example, what I want to do through this podcast is explore and debunk some of the myths that are there. Like, for example, I know that we were never told as children to wear sunscreen because a lot of Indians, especially who live abroad as well, feel that they don't need sunscreen because we're brown and that our skin doesn't burn. So I feel that apart from Australia, which has a very high rate of skin cancer, when you're growing up, that is something that we never told by our parents' generation. And I look at my mother now who's in her 70s and she has beautiful skin, but she does have pigmentation. So, Doctor, this is why I think I would love to get your knowledge and your experience and to educate people and to make them aware about what is essential, what are the non-negotiables. And that's something what is a non-negotiable for you in your daily routine, Doctor?
Okay, so when you come to a non-negotiable skin routine, there's one thing which we have realized and forwarded to our patients and clients that there has to be a basic skincare routine for themselves, which is with or without you doing any clinical procedure with the doctor's office.
Correct.
So something for every gender, for every age group which we have. As you rightly said, that our parents never used to believe that we have to use sunscreen because the concept was not that clear. We were not educated enough, but thanks to the evolving times, Ramona, that now we have all the social media to take care of all these queries as well.
Absolutely.
People are now got aware of that there is something known as sunscreens. And thankfully, we have all categories of sunscreen present in our market. Like right from the kids, we have something for the geriatric population. We have both outdoors and sunscreen for indoors as well. So a basic skincare routine which compromises of your good cleanser, a good moisturizer, and a good sunscreen, which has a broad spectrum coverage with an UV filter, with an titanium dioxide or a zinc oxide as a physical filter, and it should also cover your infrared and blue light. This is for the mornings. For the evenings, you can again go back to your cleansing, your moisturizing, and some actives like hyaluronic acid or a vitamin C or a retinol-based creams. It's basically the need of that time and the patient's skin, what that patient requires.
Yes.
You have to use good skincare routine throughout your life. It's like having your meal daily.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. And I guess, my mum laughs at me sometimes when she comes into my bathroom and says, my God, you use so much stuff on your face. And obviously, yes, I have a big interest in this area. But I feel that, especially during the pandemic, is something that I saw in India. A lot of new brands that came about. And, we're talking everything from Korean, Indian mix. And, what I would love from you, Doctor, over this series is to really help our audience to navigate this minefield because there's so many products and every day, like you said, through social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, we're told use this and use that. And, as a consumer, you want to just try everything. But obviously, like you said, it's not going to suit everyone. Like for me, vitamin C, it doesn't work for me. But, finding out what are the alternatives and what is going to suit someone of Indian origin, I think is so powerful because I think, I live in Australia half time and, you walk into any of the big stores, and they have a lot of international brands. But honestly, Doctor, what I really feel there's a massive gap that we need to fill by sharing a lot of these homegrown brands that are actually catering towards, like you said, whether it's hair, whether it's skin. I think that's an area that we can really, really dive into.
So as I said, Ramona, the first thing is the make of the skin. Now, when we talk about Caucasian and Asian and Indians, we have to differentiate because the make of our collagens are different to start off. Secondly, the collagen what Indians and the Asians have are much more in a better concentration and better time compared to a Caucasian skin. Again, coming back to the melanin content, Indians and Asians have better melanin content, okay, compared to your Caucasian. That is the basic reason why the Indian origin or the Asian skin can get more tanned easily. They don't get burn easily.
Correct.
But Caucasians can get burn easily because the melanin content is less, which is supposed to be your natural sunscreen in the body.
Yes.
So this is something where we have to first differentiate from a skin, and because of which customization is very important. What product, what percentage is very, very important.
Wow.
Like, for example, a retinol molecule has 10 different concentration and formulation because each formulation cannot be used for everybody. It has to be determined according to the skin type, according to the color,
Correct.
according to the usage, and what is the age bracket also the patient is falling into. And again, it also comes to a place where is it a male patient or is it a female patient? Though the molecule stays same, but the percentage might differ. So this is again very important for us to know that you have a different skin type. There is a Fitzpatrick skin classification where first 3 classification is for the Caucasian and the last 3 classification is for more of the darker skin types or Indian origin or Asian origins. So accordingly, we determine the skin color. And then we put our molecules with the right percentages on the prescription to get the best results out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is such a fascinating area, and I'm really looking forward to, getting into different topics and sharing more and more information with our audience. So we could keep chatting for the longest time, and I'm so grateful to have you on board. And I want to thank you for today, and I look forward to recording more and sharing more with our audience.
Yes, the pleasure is mine too, Ramona. Thank you so much. And I'll be so happy to be on the platform and share my knowledge. And I will definitely like to do it because I'll also feel that I've made a little change in everybody's life.
Absolutely, Doctor. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today on the Not So Fair But Lovely podcast. Look forward to bringing you more soon.